The roguelike formula has come a long way since its humble beginnings in the 1980s and continues to evolve and develop, delivering us some of the most addictive and highly celebrated games in recent years. In this video, I chat with a good friend of mine, Mr. GoForce Gaming, a man who is particularly passionate about roguelikes, dedicating his entire YouTube channel to the wonderful world of Roguelike Games. In this interview, we explore just what makes the genre special, the aforementioned evolution, and the eternal question of what defines a roguelike game. So without further delay, let's jump into the video. So, Mr. GoForce Gaming, thank you very much for joining me, buddy. I thought we would dive straight into something very juicy, the question of what defines a roguelike game.
I knew it was coming. So, this is a highly debated topic. Let's put that out there first. Yep. There are some what I would call maybe purists out there that are going to tell you that roguelikes are grid-based, turn-based games where there's not much of a visual aspect happening. I think the godfather of roguelikes is a game called Rogue, if I'm remembering right, where all of this kind of stemmed from, right? Yep. And then it gets kind of gray and wishy-washy where, people say, well, no, as long as it's got, some kind of randomness to it, whether we're talking about randomly generated levels or random power-ups where you can create a different kind of character build each time. I think often a high degree of challenge is tacked on to the roguelike genre. I think that's typical. They are typically pretty challenging. Definitely starting out. I don't know that I've met a roguelike where I said, oh God, this is a breeze. Yeah. What are these guys talking about? I'm just going to mow this one right down. Yeah, totally. Typically you're going to get your butt beat in over and over and over again. And you just have to you have to make this agreement with yourself before you start playing these games. I agree to watch myself get killed over and over and over again, and that's okay.
Totally.
You have to go into it, right? You can't get frustrated. You're going to lose at these games.
Yes.
So there is a degree of difficulty. And then, you have this diversion here as well. So you've got roguelikes and roguelites, right?
Yes.
And so the roguelite, it has something that the kids call meta progression. That's a really fancy terminology out there for permanent upgrades or some kind of permanent unlock, right? So if you think of Hades, right? Yeah. I would argue that Hades is a roguelite because you're getting resources across each run, you're bringing those resources back, and you're buying some kind of unlockable, whether it's a weapon that you can take in or some kind of stat upgrade that's going to last you through the remainder of the game.
Definitely.
So that's a really long way to answer your question. I know
it's good.
I winded around the halls quite a bit there, but it's the randomness, it's the challenge, it's different forms of progression that open up along the way. But very much so, I think the roguelike experience is playing the same set of levels that are randomly generated over and over and over again and just inching your way towards progress.
Absolutely. Hopefully we can overcome, for some people when they maybe watch this and they are not so much of a roguelike fan, is to take away that feeling that people are failing when they are dying, because like you say, it's part of the process. You're going to lose on your first few runs quite quickly probably, and the more you play it, it's one of them things where you get stronger as you go.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, that kind of actually leads me into another one of my questions, if you don't mind. Obviously we've seen Noita, for example, on Steam. We see a lot of awesome indie games on Steam. This is another reason why I wanted to get together with you, because I feel that indie games and these roguelikes and roguelites definitely go hand in hand. I feel like they are a great go-to for a lot of indie developers to make a game which is going to work for them and also have good longevity. That's the way I see it. I won't take up all the time. I want to put the question to you to see what you think about it. But we see a lot of the roguelikes in the indie space, not so many in the AAA space. I was kind of interested to see how you feel about the relationship between indie games and roguelike games.
I think that the roguelike genre and the roguelite genre is fueled majorly by the indie devs of the world, and it seems like they are the ones that are willing to get out there and take the risks in terms of creativity and development features. I think and by the way, AAA games are great too. I talked about how I'm enjoying the hell out of Elden Ring, but I think that there is a formula that some AAA games follow, where you don't always get that from the indie games. There's some more, there's nuance there. There's more creativity in those games sometimes, and you end up with some really special experiences, I think. So as we were mentioning, what AAA roguelike can you think of? Returnal was the only one that really came to my mind immediately.
I wonder if we will see more AAAs. Do you think that might be a thing that may happen more and more? We see more AAA roguelike games?
I mean, I'd love to see it, but I don't know. I really don't know. I think if these games can keep showing that they're successful, that's what will drive interest in creating those games.
Yeah. So we've just taken it back, if you don't mind, with regards to the relationship, as I say, between the indie games and the roguelikes. Do you have a vibe for why you feel it is they are so abundant in that space, or is it just, do you think the indie devs are they just love it, or do you think it works well for their capacity with what they're able to deliver, if you see what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think it's certainly accessible in terms of what a small team could churn out. It's possible that they know that if they do something in such a way that works out, then they can grab people for a long period of time.
That's exactly
right?
what I was thinking.
And then those folks are going to tell their friends, hey, you got to play this, you got to check this thing out, right? So Vampire Survivors is, I think it's $4 US on the Steam store. And this might as well be, the most simplistic looking game out there.
Sure,
But I'll tell you what, it just works.
Nice, yeah.
It's
the hook,
feels good.
Yeah, it feels good.
It's the hook. It plays well. It keeps you coming back. And it's the most simplistic thing. You're literally just moving a sprite up, down, left, and right on a screen and trying to avoid obstacles, right? Yeah. It was like somebody looked at Ski Free for Windows and said, boy, how can we improve upon the formula?
Yeah. Totally.
And it's just this wonderful thing that has taken off for them. It's overwhelmingly positive on Steam with just a ton of reviews. And I would tell everybody, play that game.
Yeah.
It's great.
That is fantastic. I love that. And that is definitely one of the big things about the roguelike genre in general as well. That hook is everything, isn't it? If they nail that and that feeling of satisfaction, I think that's got to be at the heart of it. Like you say, overrules any visuals or anything by the sounds of it for you, especially. And I would definitely agree with that too. It's about how it feels to play.
It's 100%. And I'll piggyback off your statement, that feeling of satisfaction. It's 100% that. It's that dopamine drip. Look what I just did. And part of it is the challenge that we talked about.
Yeah.
You've just surpassed an area that you've lost in. 27 times. You've just gotten through it. And it's just such an overwhelming feeling of accomplishment.
Definitely. That's
right?
Great shout.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. Because if you don't have the difficulty, you can't have that ultimate satisfaction feeling. That's the thing. And the great thing is, if the difficulty is there, you're still progressing in a lot of these newer, where they add a bit of that meta progression in there. That is, I think that works really well personally. Obviously, sometimes the hardcore formula is great too, but when they do have that in there, it makes it good, because you're never feeling like you're losing, even if you are losing, if that makes sense. So if you're dying, you're not losing, because you're grabbing a bit of currency, you're upgrading as you go. Then eventually you're going to be able to overcome that obstacle that you keep facing. I love that about it.
100%. Yeah, no time is wasted.
So, finally, I've got a question for you, Goat Force Gaming, my friend. This is your domain. Roguelites are your thing. How could you summarize what truly makes roguelike special?
I think that for me, these games are great on the surface. So I'm excited to play them regardless. What makes them even more special is that they keep you coming back and playing them over and over and over again. And it's not that you're seeing the same thing over and over again. You're having different experiences because of that random generation. And because of that, sometimes you're seeing, strange things happen in the game. Sometimes that algorithm gets a little bit out of control, and you're seeing some oddities within the game that maybe weren't meant to happen, but just because you were in the right place at the right time, you're seeing some odd stuff happen, and you have these special moments, these collisions of code, right? And so it's very interesting what these games can do sometimes. They're all special experiences in their own way, but it's the hook and it's the progression treadmill that I enjoy so much about these games. It makes you feel good. The progress itself. There's a sense of accomplishment that comes along with these games.
Nice, yep.
And I just, as a gamer, as a lifelong gamer, I've always enjoyed the sense of accomplishment that we can get out of video games. You have a shitty day at work, you come home, you take down that monster that you've been going up against for a week, Totally. And at least you got something you can walk away and go, man, you know what, I feel a little bit better about myself today.
Love that.
Right.
Yeah,
so I think for me, it's the treadmill of progression that feels good. It's the sense of accomplishment, and it's the hook, this chokehold that these games put on you in a good way. And I'm not saying I like to get choked.
Let's not go there.
Let's not go there, everybody. Don't take that out of context.
Take that one to the comments, guys.
That's right. But it's that nice hold that these games put on you that that just keeps you coming back for more and more.
Definitely, most definitely. And it's truly unique to the genre, isn't it? There's not really anything like it. It's got that. That's its brand, basically, isn't it? It's awesome. Yeah. Awesome. That's great. I love that. Great answer, buddy. That is fantastic. And following on from what makes them truly special, I think it would be a great time to ask you, what are some of your most treasured moments or treasured games that you've played in the roguelike genre?
That's a good question. Well, like I had said, Noida is a game that everybody should play. Those devs over at Nala, they really created something special here. It is a terribly challenging game. You're gonna get killed over and over and over again. In fact, you're gonna have runs that last 30 seconds, and you're gonna go, I don't even know what happened, but that's part of the beauty. That's part of the beauty of it. It really is.
So super randomized in that game, would you say?
It really is.
Yeah,
it really is, and it's a pretty looking game. They've done a lot of interesting things with the their engine, where each individual pixel has physic properties. It's really tremendous. I can't say enough nice things about it. So Noida is definitely a game that is near and dear. Hades, play Hades.
Oh yeah,
Hades is just a wonderful experience. I would argue that Hades is the Hello World of roguelites, right?
Yeah, it's the flagship, isn't it? Like...
It is. I play Hades. It needs no other description.
It's the ultimate.
Yeah, Darkest Dungeon and Darkest Dungeon 2. I mean, Darkest Dungeon is a game that I probably stored up over 300 hours in.
Wow.
It is a melancholy, depressing game, but there's just something beautiful about it all. And the narration is some of the best narration out there.
Nice.
It's a wonderful game, and you can get this game on an iPad these days.
Very cool.
So Darkest Dungeon is a wonderful game. I played a little bit of the sequel, not enough to form an opinion about it. It's still in early access, but that's a game that I'll be spending more time with eventually. If you're looking for something simple, Vampire Survivors.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful game. Just a wonderful game.
Love it.
Those are the ones that come to mind today. If you were to ask me tomorrow, it might be another set of games. There's just so many, and
there is.
That's part of the challenge of it all. I mean, I want to play them all, but as we've just talked about here, these games take a while to get through.
Definitely.
Right, and so if you're like me and you have 13 different games you're playing throughout, a week, it's very difficult to get through them. And then there's constantly a deluge of other games being announced, and
so true.
It's hard to wrap your arms around them.
Yeah, so again, like you mentioned about early access being a thing, it seems to be quite a thing quite often for the roguelike games as well. Which again, I think this is coming back to the indie games question as well. I think it's another reason why it's a good way for them to go with a roguelike game. It works well. They can build it up over time. Like even Hades was in early access for like a year and a half or something, I think it was.
Yeah.
What do you think about the early access model and then going into the main game? Do you like that approach?
I do, and I think the data that the dev gets is really important.
Yes.
They can retune and rebalance along the way based on, maybe the weapons or the spells or techniques that people are using in the game, and make sure that it's not too easy, not too hard.
Yep.
Right? They're going for that Goldilocks, right?
So true.
That perfect balance.
It's a massive thing in the genre, isn't it? Balancing is so key. There's so many things that they have to balance out and stuff like that. So it's a big part of it. I'm guessing that's why it's very helpful, like you say.
Yeah, and I think that they have a good enough base of an idea of what might happen out there, right? But then the game gets in the wild.
Yeah.
And then somebody finds something that, kind of quote unquote breaks the game, and that becomes the meta, right? And then the devs are like, "Oh my God, we've got to debuff this right away," right? And then everybody's like, "Oh, the sword is broken now for me. Can't use the sword anymore," right?
Exactly.
And then they've got to take a new approach. But yeah, I think the player data that they get is critical.
Definitely, because like you say, it could be like, for example, Hades. I've watched the documentary that they made with No Clip, which was absolutely amazing. I highly recommend. Yeah. And that was super interesting to see all the insights, and they're watching people play it, they're watching streamers play it all the time, and balancing out, like you say, like the sword could be like ridiculously powerful, or they got to tone that down a bit, or that someone might complete it on their first run. Oh God, we better make it a bit harder. All this sort of stuff definitely is a factor. I think obviously there's going to be different skill levels out there, but I find that very interesting, that documentary, and great insight into the workings behind the scenes.
I have to watch that. I love Danny. I love Danny. I adore Danny.
Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah, the No Clip guy.
He's fantastic.
Yeah. Definitely. That's a fantastic channel, no clip, yeah. And obviously Supergiant Games, absolutely amazing team. So they were so interesting to watch how they did things. So yeah, definitely recommend that one. It's the best. It's actually a multiple episode thing that they did over, I think it was like a year or two or something like that. They did early access all the way through to release and did different scenes and stuff. So it's amazing. Definitely check it out, my friend. It's awesome.
Cool.
So, I've got one more question for the legend that is Goat Force Gaming. I was wondering if there was any games that actually got you into the genre initially. You can remember one of the first you played, or if there's anything that's sort of like a moment where it was like, I love this, I'm going to play a lot more of these. Did you have any of those moments?
I think for me, I just got to this point where I decided, I really like games that do progression really well. And I found that this genre nails that. As we talked about, I have always been a fan. Going back to Demon Souls, I've been a huge fan of the Soulsborne games. And fact of the matter is, they do progression really well. There's an extreme challenge with those games.
Yeah.
But you climb that ladder, you go get the souls, you go talk to the lady. The lady gives you some stat buffs, right? And eventually, you're going to go back up against the phalanx and you're going to take it down. And it feels good. And then you're going to get more progression. So I think that, the roguelike and roguelite genre does progression really well. Whether it's knowledge-based progression, like, I've played this area 27 times. I know the corner to stand in now.
Yes. Yeah.
Or I've got enough health points now because I've been grinding it out. I'm ready to go up against this area now. I just like that part of gaming, and this genre ends up doing it really well. And I think that's what drove me towards it in a big way.
Was there anything you'd like to add about Roguelike Games, my friend, before we wind this up today? It's been an absolute pleasure, but was there anything you wanted to add in about your joy of roguelikes, essentially?
Yeah, well, I really appreciate you having me. It was a good discussion. You're a great fella, and you're just a tremendous member of the community. Always been inviting to me and everybody else out there, so appreciate the discussion. So the roguelikes and the roguelites, I think that there seems to be this fence, right, around these games, and that the fence is just these very challenging thorns, and people are like, oh my God, I'm not going to climb that thing. Come on now.
Yep. Totally.
But you know what? Climb on the fence. Put your hand right on that barb. Feel the pain, right, for a little bit, and then come back next time with a stronger pair of gloves and get through that next run. Get a little bit further. Keep climbing the fence. There is a lot of enjoyment to be found over there, and I think more people need to give these games a shot. And when you die, just laugh about it. Laugh it off. Go have another run. It's meant to be in these games. It's just part of it.
Facts. Yeah. Yes.
Play these games. Play these games.
Play them, guys. Yeah, love it. And there's no better guy to demonstrate the beauty of these games than Goat Force, who is joining me right now, of course, and his channel. Definitely check his channel out if you haven't already, guys. It is absolutely awesome, and it's dedicated to roguelike games. And he's an awesome laid-back guy, as you can hear if you haven't heard him before. If you have heard him before, I'm sure you know already. But thank you so much for joining me today, buddy. It's been awesome. Hopefully everyone will come over to your channel, check it out if they haven't already, or if they know us already. Hope they've enjoyed our little conversation today. So I just want to say thank you so much, Go Force, buddy. It's been a pleasure, sir.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, it's been great having a coffee with you.
Definitely.
And yeah, appreciate it too. We've got a really great community growing in the channel, and yeah, we'd love to see more fans coming through. We'll keep you all up to speed on the newest games coming through, and yeah, we just have a good time playing games. A great group of people.
Awesome, buddy. That's fantastic. And would you like to shout out your channel and your social media while we're finishing up?
Yeah, let's do that. You can get me on the Twitters at GoatForce, or you can find me, the GoatForce Gaming channel. Drop me a line in the comments. Hit that sub button. Do all the things. Ding the bell. I don't know what the hell the bell does, but ding it. Only one way to find out. Do the thing.
Love that. Fantastic stuff. This has been such a pleasure, such a fun time. And yes, and the message, I think what you brought up a minute ago is an awesome one. Don't be scared of the roguelikes if you haven't checked them out already. If you're already loving them, like, there's a big community who are, obviously. That is awesome. Hope we brought some insight and an interesting chat. But, you know, if you're sort of skeptical about it or on the fence about roguelikes, as GoatForce said, you know, go in there, try them out. And, you know, just go in. Exactly. And try that barbed fence and then put your gloves on after. I love that.
Absolutely.
You're gonna grow to love them. Absolutely. They are very addictive and you'll be in love in no time, guys. But thank you so much, everyone who's checked this video out. It was a blast. Hope you've enjoyed it. And yes, maybe there'll be more of these kinds of edited sort of videos in the future. But like I say, it's been a blast, this one. Thank you so much for watching. And I will catch you again on the channel sometime very soon. Thanks again for watching, guys.
Cheers, everyone.